Hey everyone, I'm Brian Sparks, editor of Greenhouse Grower Magazine, and I am joined today by Dr. Melinda Knuth, assistant professor in the Horticultural Sciences Department at NC State, and a Greenhouse Grower Editorial Advisory Board member, along with Amanda Solliday, a doctoral student working with Dr. Knuth. Melinda and Amanda, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Sure. So in January, Sustainabloom, which is a program from American Floral Endowment, announced the release of 3 new comprehensive guides that are designed to help the industry understand the role and importance of social sustainability in horticultural and floriculture businesses. The guides that were developed by researchers at NC State offer valuable insights into key areas such as employee continued education, health benefits, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we wanted to do this video today to talk with both of you about what's in each of these guides, what's important in there, and then perhaps most importantly, what growers and business owners can do to benefit from what's in these guides. So Amanda, I'll start with you to kind of talk about in general what Sustainabloom is and leading into why these guides were introduced.
Sure, absolutely. And thanks again for letting us talk about this today. So the goal of Sustainabloom has been to provide really high quality educational resources for folks in the floriculture industry. And Dr. Knuth and I are part of the research team, and we've been working with the American Floral Endowment and industry partners and all different segments. So wholesalers, retailers, growers, suppliers. I know I'm forgetting folks, but the whole breadth of the industry to develop these resources and figure out, what the industry wants to know, where we're at currently, what sort of goals we might have in the future. And so that sort of is a little ground setting for the project. These
Okay.
guides, they're meant to distill a lot of information that's out there about sustainability and really filter out the most useful pieces for folks who work in floriculture. And
Okay.
yeah, that's what Dr. Knuth and I have been working on for, gosh, a year and a half, I would say. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and these 3 guides that came out recently are the latest in that series.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Amanda. And yeah, we're happy to be here and happy to talk about them. Which one would you like to touch on first?
Let's start with the diversity, equity, and inclusion guide. Talk about some of the key elements that are in there. Again, I mean, focusing on what's most important, and then, if you're a business owner, how you can take the information and the tips that are in those guides and carry that through to how you run your business and how you work with your team as well.
So, this first guide about diversity, equity, and inclusion around and employee sustainability is focused on how to treat your people. Mostly, this guide is focused around uh, creating space for people to feel very comfortable to work in your business. And the key things that to pay attention to in this guide are that with these different categories of people, and we're talking, not just people, gender or race or anything like that. We're also talking about age, and we're talking about different education levels and in the industry and out of the industry, providing opportunity and providing space for people to, excellent people from outside the industry who can come on in and creating space for them, as well as making making the things in such a way that are very comfortable for people to be in. And so there are a lot of benefits of providing this space. In particular, in education, we understand that if students are more comfortable in a space, they are more likely to learn and collaborate with others. And the same is true in the workplace. If people are more comfortable in a space, so we're talking, toxic work culture. If they feel more comfortable in a workspace, they're more likely to contribute and to be productive and to be happy and stay at your workplace. And
Okay.
ultimately, what this means for businesses is if you train people and they stay, that's investment. And you're investing into them just like they're investing their time into your business. If you're having constant turnover, that can lead to a huge capital cost for you in the long term. And so keeping people happy, keeping people comfortable leads to better outcomes for you in terms of retaining talent.
Okay. One of the things I want to dig into there is one of the strategies involved in this first guide is getting buy-in from the leadership at your organization. Now that could be, the business owner who's full on board, getting buy-in from his entire management team who works day to day with, the rest of the team at the company, or it could be those managers themselves working with their team and then getting buy-in from the owner or CEO of the company. Can you talk about the importance of that a little bit?
Yeah. So leadership comes from the top down. And so if the leader doesn't believe in a certain initiative or doesn't create that environment that makes it a nice workplace, it does come down to middle management and below. And so having buy-in in programs or initiatives to create environments that are very comfortable for employees is really key. And I agree. It really does start from CEO or those really top levels in the companies.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I'll just add too, like leadership in the company can make sure that people are talking to each other so they can improve lines of communication. They can like motivate people. And so it's pretty critical to for the rest of the company, if the leader's excited about something, able to talk about it to everyone. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I like to, Dr. Knuth, how you mentioned, is this DEI focus extends from everything from race and gender to age to everything else that goes into it. So that sounds very critical to this.
Absolutely. And it really, if taking all of the language out of it, it really comes down to, that when I think of a company that doesn't have good culture, it's like that toxic work culture. And that's the essence of what this guide is doing, is talking about how do we prevent that? How do we prevent that in the workplace so that you keep your people, you retain them, and everyone can contribute happily?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's shift over to the second guide, which is all about continued education and professional development. And this is something that we hear, a lot from the growers in this industry that we talk to about, once you bring in, great help and great team leaders, being able to keep them continuously educated on what's happening in the industry and have them continue to grow in their careers, both inside and really outside the company as well. Can you kind of talk about what's in this guide that walks through that process?
Yeah. So first is the reason for the guide. One of the things that is commonly discussed, especially with young professionals and just in general, when you look at a lot of employee surveys, not only in our industry, but others, is the fact that people want to learn. People want to continue to grow in their position, especially if they're very passionate about their job. And so providing an opportunity for them to grow and expand and become better in their job, professional development, a lot of times it's called, leads to very happy employees. And so within this guide, that's kind of the key thing, is this is why this is important, because in particular, one employee education survey that was done showed that 86% of employees said that having continued education in their workplace was important or very important. 86%, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And so within this guide, we go into the different types of employee education programs that we commonly see in horticulture, especially with growers, as well as examples. And just to talk about AFE here for a minute, American Floral Endowment, they have a lot of educational opportunities to expand learning, their Grow Pro series, as well as scholarships to attend professional events as employees or as business owners. And so we talk about that within the guide. And lastly, the return on investment. Now, this is, going back to how does this affect business owners, especially growers or managers. The more skilled your person is, the more they can contribute positively to your workplace. And if you can provide continued education, or if you can capitalize on free continued education, this is just a greater benefit to you. They can come in with new ideas, new techniques, new skills, or existing skills and just become more efficient at them or better at a skill that they previously knew. And so there's large return on investment for doing continued education because ultimately it turns around and benefits you as the company.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good way to ensure that your company it can provide a steady source of ideas for your company to improve upon. And this is just a personal note, but whenever I've attended trainings, it's rare that I don't come away with some idea, large or small, to help improve what I'm doing at work.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and to your point about return on investment, I think that's really important because you hear that so often, but it's talked about within something like technology, for example. So if I'm going to add a new piece of equipment, how do I, actually calculate how many more plants I'm able to grow and sell at a higher price able to, set that dollar amount to this. This is a little bit different, I think, where you don't necessarily see that dollar value return on investment immediately, but if you look very long term, you see it with the growth of your company and as you said, the ability to retain and continuously improve the team that you have within your organization. So I think that's really important.
Absolutely. And kind of a side effect of this, especially if you take your employees to different conferences, is sometimes they find that new equipment that you then calculate return on investment of for the equipment, but you wouldn't have even known about the equipment if you wouldn't have allowed for this professional development. So yeah, some of this is a little intangible, but if you think about it more in like, okay, well, this affected this, and this was very profitable for me, that's a huge return on investment for you.
Sure, absolutely. So let's jump to the last guide, which focuses on specific types of benefits. I know that benefits have been a very important part of the conversation in floriculture for the last couple of years as companies look to expand the types of benefits that they offer to employees. I think now more than ever, it's not just about what you're paying, but what else you can provide. And the flexibilities that some companies are starting to add, whether it's adding anything from expanding your current health benefits to even something like pet insurance is something that we hear about a lot more. But this guide in particular talks about health benefits and also parental leave benefits. Can either of you talk about why this guide is so important and what businesses can take away from this?
Yes. So this guide originated from actually some conversations I had with peers that were in a similar age bracket. And there's a lot of discussion around, again, young people coming into the industry. And many young people are willing to take a lower salary if there are great benefits involved in the position. But if there's not great benefits, they do expect a high or higher salary than they would have otherwise selected. And I thought that was an important discussion point that we needed to touch on is what benefits are we providing as an industry, as well as what do employees want? What keeps them satisfied and also allows them to concentrate on the job? If you're concentrating on your personal life, if you're concentrating on your health, if you're concentrating on what you're going to eat because you don't have enough money to eat, all these different aspects, you're not focused on your job, which is where you are for some of us, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And so this is one of the one of the pieces that employers can think about in socially being sustainable in their business. So first we go into why this is important, which I hope I've convinced you if you don't think it's important, in the first part of the guide, as well as talking about health risks and challenges in agriculture that we have, because our job's hard, especially as growers. I'm preaching to the choir here, but it's hard work, and this can be something to really think about is, are you providing adequate benefits that if someone gets sick or someone, needs to go to the doctor for whatever reason, that they're able to do so.
Yeah.
So that's something to consider there. So we go into different health benefits and the different requirements throughout the guide. So, for example, talking about the Affordable Care Act, as well as FMLA, the family uh, legislation, so Family and Medical Leave Act, as well as um, providing resources from the Department of Labor regarding when do you offer FMLA, when can employees ask for FMLA, and especially those resources if you don't have a private insurance plan for your employees.
Yeah.
And then lastly, what we go into is how to get started. If you are like, yeah, this sounds great. I want to provide these types of benefits to my employees. How do I get started? And so we have a half-page guide on these are different considerations you need to think about and shop around in different plans and see what works for you, as well as for, what do your employees even want? If you provide dental, and you have 10 employees, but only one of them is taking the dental, is that really a benefit that your employees want? Or do they want maternity leave? Do they want eye care? Is there something else that you should be providing instead? Or maybe they don't want any of those options and you just go with a general healthcare plan. So it's a little bit of conversation around those pieces and the different ways that you can think out leave.
Sure.
I think it's worth pointing out too that Dr. Knuth and another colleague of ours, Dr. John Dole, issued a survey where they looked at salary and benefits throughout the industry, and it was one of the resources that underpinned the guide. So it might be worthwhile for folks if they're really interested to check that out too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we'll show on the screen here as well where you can get more information on that. So, yeah, definitely we can certainly do that. So as you look ahead, these are all three very important topics, the industry, needs to get more familiar with and build into their overall business practices. Are there any other topics that you're looking at down the road to set up similar guides or more information on?
These were the last 3 of our social guides that we were going to put out. We put out a total of 6 social guides. And we do have 2 more guides coming out related to environmental sustainability. So water conservation and lighting are the 2 that and cold chain management. Oh my gosh, Amanda, I almost forgot.
Yeah.
That one's coming out. Amanda has put a lot of effort into that one. And so those 3 are coming pretty soon.
Okay.
And folks who are listening too, if they haven't seen the guides that are already on sustainabloom.org, there are at least 10. Dr. Knuth, how many are there?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. I think it's over 10. I need to go count after this little webinar to see how many there are.
Yeah.
And we can show that here too, how many different guides are available.
Okay, great. Yeah, they cover both environmental and social topics.
Okay, awesome. And you mentioned where I was going to say where can growers go to get more information, but you're all seeing it right in front of you here, so that's great. You're looking forward to more projects like this. It's easy sometimes I think to talk about what are the new plants that are out there, what's new technology that's out there, but topics like this, if you don't focus on them and make them a core part of your business going forward, those new plants and that new technology isn't going to matter a whole lot if you're not keeping your business moving forward the right way with the right team in place. So I'm glad that we had the chance to catch up about this.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Lauren, I wanted to add too that the whole goal of the project, like we know these resources will be iterative. And so we really appreciate talking to you today because it's been conversations with folks in the industry that have really helped make these high quality and make them useful for the people they're meant to be useful for. And so we hope that continues in the future. And we really appreciate you getting the word out.
Sure, absolutely. And as folks get out in tennis industry events this year, they can hopefully have a chance to hear more and talk more as well. So I know, Melinda, I see you pretty much every year at Cultivate. Amanda, are you going to make it this year? Or?
Well, this is, I've gone every year in my PhD program, but this year I'll be at,
oh no, you'll be at AIFD, American Institute of Floral Design. She'll be at that symposium.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, again, thank you for both of you for taking the time to talk about this, and we'll catch up again soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks, everyone.